Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is DeJuan Ford, lead actor and executive producer of Return of the Mack, and you are tuned in to According to Portion. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Portia Monique, and today I'll be your host. And DeJuan Ford is our guest today, and he isn't just starring in Return of the Mac Back for the Smoke. He's helping to redefine what redemption looks like on screen. As John Golden Mickens III, he brings depth, danger, and heart to a story where the past never stays buried. Welcome to the show, DeJuan.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Now, before we begin, I want to learn about who you are, how you got started in acting, and you're also the executive producer. Let's talk about that. So, how did you get started in acting? What made you want to do this film? And then, how did you play those two roles with executive producer as well as actor?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So I always had a passion for acting. I was always an actor in our school plays in elementary school and middle school growing up. Then after a while, especially being from Detroit, it was kind of like the dream and the reality of becoming an actor was kind of far fetched. We didn't really see making it to Hollywood or New York, as something that was really attainable. So I was doing a podcast, and I interviewed Thomas L. Harris and Martell Lane of Moolah Films. And at the time, they were shooting McGraw Ave season one. I said, hey, I want to come out and check it out. I'll be an extra, or, whatever it is. So they invited me out the following week, and I got bit by the bug. I took countless classes, and I've been a part of over 140 productions, and not just here in Detroit. I've shot in Atlanta, LA, Vegas, New York, Chicago, all through Ohio, down south. So I've been really able to, follow my dream and get paid while doing it. So it's been a long 10-year journey, but we're here right now, so it's definitely a blessing.
Well, congratulations on Return of the Mac, Back for the Smoke. And let's talk about that for a second because your character, Golden, he's a man who's trying to outrun his past while being pulled back into it.
Mhm.
What was the emotional entry point for you when stepping into this role?
So, initially when, Brian and Jamie Freeman and Jay Skills, we all sat at the round table and we came up with this story. And, we bounced around, a couple ideas. And when we decided to make, Golden a more reformed, individual, after he came out of prison. And then I think the element of having his daughter involved in the human trafficking piece of it, for me, I have an 11-year-old daughter, and that character really kind of put me in the space because I am a father
Yeah.
of a daughter, and it was really initially it was kind of tough for me to even kind of fathom that thought of my daughter being involved in it, but I really took that and I put it on screen. So I
Yeah.
hope the audience really appreciates my performance because I really tapped into my inner dad throughout this film, and I loved it, and everybody that's
Yeah.
watched it so far, they really love the message, they love the
Yeah.
story, the acting, everything. So yeah, I definitely had to tap into being a father of a daughter, and really just taking it and presenting
I
to
love
you.
it. I love it. And I do want to take a step back because we jumped right into your character.
Mhm.
And so thank you for painting a picture that you are a father in real life. You have an 11-year-old daughter.
Right.
But tell us more about this story and how the concept came about.
So Brian Freeman, he's one of my partners on this and one of the writers as well. He was a huge fan of the Mac. He Brian has been my CPA for about 6 years now, and we really developed a relationship. He's like my big brother, my uncle, a father figure. So he's done my taxes because I've EP'd over 40 films. So he
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
You
he's
just
been
dropped that in there.
yeah, so Brian, like, hey man, I want to shoot a movie, but he was saying this, for the past 3 or 4 years, and it never happened. But in the spring of 2024, he was like, hey, I got an idea. this is what we're gonna do. And then it was just like from that point on, it was like, the rest is history. So we wanted to take some elements of the original film, but we wanted to really send out a message, because we didn't want it just to be about pimping and, females and guns and violence. We wanted to send a message, and really it was about human trafficking. So I love the idea, and I was really excited to get this done.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, wonderful. And congratulations to you on EPing over 40 films. And of
Thank you,
course,
thank
this
you.
film is simply impeccable. I loved your acting in it. I was pleasantly surprised by the acting. But you did a wonderful job.
Thank you, thank
Now,
you.
absolutely. So, staying in line with the father theme, right? So, at its core, this really is a story about a father trying to make things right, right? So,
Yeah.
how did you tap into the urgency and protectiveness in your performance?
So my style of acting, I really pull from an authenticity uh, standpoint, so to speak. So I just like a more authentic style of acting, not really a Hollywood. I don't have a method or whatever it is. So I really studied, just different things online. I talked to people that victims of human trafficking. I really went really in depth with this, to really tap into different emotions,
Yeah.
and being a father and just kind of hearing different experiences. We had a group, and I apologize, I forget the name of the group, but
Okay.
it's a nonprofit here in Detroit, and they kind of help victims of human trafficking. And I had an opportunity to, speak with a few young ladies, in that, and it just really allowed me to empower and bring this character to life.
Hmm. Now, there was a lot of brutality in the film as well. And
Mhm.
so, where did you dig from to pull that side of the character out? Because there were some gruesome scenes. I was like, okay. Um, so where did you pull from in order to pull that off? Like, did you dig deep into your Detroit roots, or did you
Yeah,
where did it
well,
come from?
with that piece, I can't, tell y'all exactly,
No,
where, but
fine.
no, I'm joking. But I mean, ultimately, it really just came from the whole thought of, what's really going on out here in the world, and how so many women are victims of human trafficking. So I really just went into it as if it was, someone that I cared about. And I really just, tapped into my inner Detroit, my inner protector, and
Yeah.
I was able to bring it to life.
Yeah. Um, um, Really quickly, did you see Golden as a man who was seeking redemption and or survival, or is that one and the same in this world?
I think it was more so redemption. I think Golden, he, even though he meant good in a lot of stuff that he was doing, because
Hmm.
Golden really didn't want to be a pimp. I don't know if you got that piece of it.
I didn't, because he embodied the character really,
Yeah,
really, really well. So
right.
I
So
didn't
so
pick
he
that
was
up.
yeah, so he was kind of just, forcing it into the lifestyle because he's just a natural protector. And
Hmm.
he just ended up doing it, but it wasn't really his speed. It was in his bloodline, but it wasn't
Yeah.
anything that he wanted to do per se, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So, but regardless of the fact, even though he had good intentions, he still did it.
Yeah.
And even when he went to jail, and I don't know if I'm giving away too much of the
No, no,
film,
no, no. Go
but the
for it.
reason why he went to jail was because he was being a protector.
Yeah.
If you remember when he went into the hotel and he was protecting one of his
Yeah.
women, and then
Hmm.
that ended up getting him locked up 10 years
Right.
in prison, and
Hmm.
now he's being taken away from his daughter, and now his daughter is a victim for it. So even though in his mind he was doing this young lady justice, he still was messing up.
Yeah.
So for me, I think with Golden, his character, it has layers to it. So
Hmm.
and I really hope people can sit down and just watch it and really
Yeah.
study it and see what his mindset was throughout the film.
Yeah. Now, as a father in real life and also playing Golden, a father on screen as well, what do
Mm.
you hope fathers, specifically Black men, take away from Golden's journey?
There for every action that you do, you got to pay the consequence behind it. Whether big or small. And I'm living proof of that. And I teach my sons that. I teach my kids that. I teach everybody around me that. You really got to be conscious of what you do.
Yeah,
Because it definitely has a consequence to it, and at some point you got to deal with it. So sometimes as men, we got to, kind of swallow our pride and tuck that the ego in. Brian Freeman, he talks a lot, and we talk about ego, and he always says if you ever do anything based on any emotion besides love, it's ego. And that message really resonated with me because a lot of times you might feel a different way. You might be angry or you might feel disrespected or whatever it is, and that little ego that you got, it'll cause you to do something, and it might end up costing you or somebody that you care about. So that's really kind of the message behind it. That ego, check it
yeah,
in, sit back and think about it, and really think about whose life you're
yeah.
impacting. Not It's not just your own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And continuing with the film, there is also an underlying theme of human trafficking, and you've been alluding to it throughout
Mhm.
this interview. It's very real and it's a very urgent issue. How important was it for you to ground this story in truth versus entertainment?
So for me, that was because initially I wasn't gonna play Golden. Because I was kind of like but for me, once we sat down and really put the story together, and the message was, human trafficking, right? And for me, just we see stuff on TV and social media, and all that. So I really wanted to use my, stardom, per se, in the independent film world to
Yeah,
send a message, because I think a lot of our content, it's a lot of trauma in it. It's just a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it doesn't really have a
hmm,
message behind it. So
hmm,
I was really just grateful, to have Brian and Jamie and Jay Skills, really, write the story. For us to, yes, it's entertaining, but just that message, and
yeah.
us as being aware as men, as a community, what's going on. We all just kind of living day by day, chasing the dollar, and and doing this, but we kind of miss a lot of the things that are important in life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then before we get out of here, I will be remiss if I did not talk about Detroit for a second because
Uh-huh.
you're from Detroit, attended Detroit high schools. I believe you still live here
Yep.
in Detroit. And of course, Detroit plays a powerful backdrop in the story. How
Mhm.
does the city itself shape the narratives as well as the stakes?
Wow, that's a great question. The city itself, I think Detroit, we're really built on grit. We constantly grinding. There's it's like when you're born and raised here, it's a certain uh for lack of a better term, stigma that people have. Oh, you guys are from Detroit, or whatever it is. But I really think we have a very unique. Um, we're just very unique individuals. We always say, like, if you can survive Detroit, you can survive anywhere.
Yeah.
And and that's why it's a blessing. I'll be 40 years old next month. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And just seeing a lot of guys that I grew up with, becoming fathers and businessmen, and really really being successful. Because we fought through a lot. And I
Yeah.
think this film shows that, with a lot of characters in there, just the different trials and tribulations of being a Detroit citizen,
Yeah.
and so I definitely think people are going to love the story. Detroit really shaped this film as well, because we have a lot of elements from the city. I'm just hoping everybody enjoys it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I also wanted to talk about you being the executive producer on this
Mhm.
project for a second, right? So, from a business aspect, how did having that level of creative control change how you approached the role?
So with me, a lot of times when I executive produce a film, I like to delegate tasks, right?
Hmm.
So I didn't really have creative control in this project. This was solely
Yeah,
Brian, Jamie, and Jay Skills. So a lot of times, and I tell people, I'm not like the jack of all trades type of guy. I like to act and I like to invest in films. So I trust my team to put out a great project, right?
Mhm.
Because one thing that I learned is just because DeJuan Ford likes something, the majority of the people might not like it.
Right.
So, and first and foremost, yes, I love the art, but this is it's a business. When you're investing, X amount of money into these projects, you really have to know your audience. And and I'm just saying this and just being honest, like a lot of projects that I loved that I was like, oh yeah, this is a hit. It wasn't
Yeah.
a hit. But then it was projects that I was like, I'm scratching my head. I wasn't really
Yeah.
sure of. Those films end up blowing up. So, I didn't have any creative control. It was all Brian and Jamie, from the
Okay.
wardrobe to the to
Yeah.
the the beard to everything,
Yeah.
like I put in some input, as far as the story, I say yeah, I like that, I like this, but no, when it comes to the creative side of it,
You let the team do their thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was straight up Brian, Jamie. They just told me, hey, we need X amount of money. I said,
Yeah.
okay, here, I'm sending it over. And because my main focus was the acting piece of it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
You
help
want
with
to
the
focus.
casting, the writing,
Hmm.
wardrobe, or none of that. I wanted to
Okay.
solely focus on Golden Mickens, the character, and that's what I did.
Yeah, and he showed up in this film for sure. So
Thank
you
you,
did a
thank you.
wonderful job. Now, we talked about this off screen as well, and I want to make sure that we touch on it before we get out of here. But we know that independent films have to fight harder for visibility. And
Mhm.
we also know that this film has been out for a while.
Mhm.
Why did you wait to bring it out? And then what does it mean for you to bring a story like this to life on your own terms? So two parts.
Okay, so the reason why it took so long was, see, initially in this independent film world, it's kind of like a hustle to a lot of people, right? They want to put these projects together and just hurry up and get them out. So we all sat down and we decided that we wanted to go a different route,
Mhm.
with this project, given the overall production value and the message that was being sent. So we went the film festival route.
Okay.
We won awards in Vegas and Virginia and in Atlanta, Miami. I think
Congratulations. Yeah.
thank you. I think we won over 13 or 14 awards.
That's
Uh,
remarkable. Yeah,
yes, yeah.
congratulations.
Oh yeah, most
Mhm.
definitely. Then we also signed a distribution deal with Quiver Distribution. And this is the first time that I've been aware of, an independent film here in Detroit signing an actual distribution deal. So it just takes a lot of time,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus, before, we'll kind of shoot a project, sign on, and then we just kind of throw it on Tubi. We just kind of wanted to take a different approach with this,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a rush.
Yeah.
The editing process took 4 or 5 months. So we wanted to kind of do this thing on our own time and do it our way. So like I said, shout out to Brian and Jamie Freeman. Kamal Smith directed it.
Kamal Smith and all of your partners, you guys did a phenomenal job. And we're really proud that you are putting this out as a product of Detroit, right? And so the other half of that question was, what does it mean to bring a story like this to life on your own terms?
So, and that's one thing that I love about being in the independent film industry. We don't have to necessarily answer to anybody, or with whatever story we want to put out. We have the power to do so. Versus sometimes when you're in different situations, you're kind of placed in a box, and you got to put out whatever message they want to put out. So it's really powerful
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And I think we
Mhm.
hold a lot of power and a lot of weight, and we definitely have to utilize it in a positive way.
Yeah, yeah. What's next for you? What's next for the evolution of DeJuan Ford? Are you continuing to build a brand around these type of films, or are you looking to expand into something unexpected? Are you looking to do something different? What's next for you?
So I think ultimately, my goal is to just keep elevating, keep getting better, keep making a difference. Even in the summertime, I have a summer program that I'm doing. It's a 5-week program. funded by the Balmer Group and United Way. And it's a summer enrichment program. So we're going to do a lot of math and reading, but also we're going to have an aspect of film production in it as well. So we're going
Wonderful.
to so we're going to offer students K through 10th grade an opportunity to be an actor or an editor, director, writer. So I'm really, really, just excited about that piece of it. And
Yeah.
and ultimately that's really my goal. I want to give back to the youth, and I just want to keep elevating, our independent film culture here in Detroit and all over the world. So that's really what my goal is.
Where do students find out more details about this program?
So they can go to my page, DeJuan Ford, DeJuan Ford on Instagram and Facebook. Yes, we are still accepting students. Initially, it was only set for 200. We got such an overwhelming response. We're at 2,500 people right now, so we're going to open up 6 more locations. So I'm really, really,
Wow.
really excited.
No,
Yes.
that is something to be excited about. Congratulations. We'll make sure that we highlight that in your story as well.
Yeah.
And before we get out of here, I like to do what I call like a rapid fire, this or that type
Hmm.
of segment. And
Okay.
for you, just the first thing that comes to mind, one word and or just a really quick synopsis of what your answer is. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So one word to describe golden.
Powerful.
A scene that stayed with you the most.
It was a scene between Clifton Powell and myself. Yeah, that was a very, very good scene. I enjoyed that. I watched it over and over again.
The one where he grabbed you up and
Yeah,
shifted your
yeah,
head
yeah,
and then threw you
yeah.
back and said, da-da-da. Okay, yeah, that no, that was a powerful thing. I like that thing. I like that thing.
Yeah.
Hardest day on set.
The first day it was rough, and then also it was a day where I actually I missed my son's 2 sons, right? They had their football championship games at Ford Field. It's like a PAL football league. It was called. I think we were in Boys and Girls Club League at the time. But I never even missed a practice, a game, or anything. So that was really hard for me to miss my son's championship game. So that was probably like the toughest day on set because mentally I was there, but I wasn't because I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I was letting my sons down. I really take pride in being a father. And that day, even now I'm kind of getting upset again because that day really kind of pissed me off because I don't like to miss those games.
Yes. Um, but when you do miss things like that, you just make it count, right? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
for this time, you made it count. Like now you guys have a distribution deal with Quiver.
Hmm.
You're all
Right.
over the place. You won awards. So you made that count. So
Right.
that ain't
Oh
nothing
yeah.
to continue to be upset about.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Most definitely.
right. Okay. And so last two, actor that you love to go head to head with. Next.
Uh, Amari Hurrick. Yeah, like I
Ah,
wanna. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wanna. I love this character, Ghost. I
Empowered,
watch
yeah.
I watch him a lot. I study him a lot. So I would definitely love to go head to head with Amari.
Yeah. Okay. And then the legacy that you're building in one sentence.
I guess one word, impactful.
Where can we find you socially? Tap into the things that you're doing, follow you, all of those type of things.
Yeah, so I am on Facebook, Instagram. I finally got a TikTok, but it's simple. It's straightforward. It's DeJuan Ford, DeJuan Ford. Follow me. You can message me, repost, share, show love.
I love
It's
it.
much appreciated.
How can people watch the film and tap in?
So it's going to be all over the place. We're on Apple TV, we're on Amazon, Dish Network, Xfinity, wherever you can name it. The film will be there April 17th. Make sure y'all buy it, repost it, share it, show love, leave reviews, comments, all that good stuff, man.
Streaming April 17th. We
Let's get
appreciate
it.
you, DeJuan Ford, for telling the stories where consequences are real, redemption is earned, and the stakes hit home. You guys tune into Return of the Mack, back for the smoke. because it isn't just a film, it's a reminder that the past always collects in one way or another. We appreciate you, we support you, we're tapping in everywhere including TikTok, and we're going to make sure that we are streaming this on Friday, April 17th. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, no problem. Thank you. I much appreciated.
Absolutely.